Hey everyone, well I'm back with my Saw of the Day series here once again. This time I got my Husqvarna 362 XP Special out. Now I have had this saw on the channel before. If you recall a couple years ago when I was cutting a bunch of poplar chipper wood there, I had this saw, had just got it up and going. I had done some videos on this saw previous. I think it was called saving another dead saw or something like that. Showed me pulling this saw apart, and well, I had bought it knowing that it had a cooktop end, scored piston. These saws originally came with non-limited coils, and they started having coil problems. So the dealer ordered them a new coil, but they didn't order an unlimited coil. They ordered a limited coil from a newer X-Torque saw and put it on this saw, and they couldn't figure out why it kept four-stroking, and there's a whole bunch of different coils and different year ranges for these that will work on different saws, but if you do happen to get the wrong coil, it won't run in the right or proper RPM range, and that's kind of where this saw is. I noticed it because when I after the rebuild, before I started, I went to adjust the carb, and I noticed both jet screws were turned right into. They had it leaned right out because they couldn't figure out why it wasn't running like it used to before. So you got to be careful with the limited coils, especially if you're going to use some from certain models in certain years they were making. Now I think they're kind of universal. You can use a limited coil and it's not too bad on some of these older saws, but there's different coils for different year ranges, and if you get them mixed up, a saw can sometimes not always run right. Now, some of you will argue with me about that, but I've talked to certain dealers about that, and they said, yeah, you got to make sure you get the right coil for the right saw type of thing. So, on some of these saws here, these share the same. The 362 shares the same crankcase as the 372, 365. These are all pre-X-Torque saws, by the way. These 362s, they had two versions of them. They had the early non-special version. They had the small bar mount on them, and then they discontinued them for a few years, and then they brought them back into production and called them the 362 XP Special when the original 365s were updated to the 365 Specials. And then the 362s used the same crankcase at that point. They were no longer a small bar mount saw. They went to, this one is a large bar mount. So these were a little bit more rare, simply because they had a smaller displacement, a 61 cc, something like that, or 61.5 cc. So for the not much difference in price, you could go to the 365, or if you wanted to bump up for the same weight, basically you could get a 372. So they were not a big seller. They're a good saw, but they were not a big seller. The Johnson Red version of these were the early ones, were the 2063, and then the 362 XP Special would have been the 2163. So also a very rare saw. I almost bought a 2163, but for whatever reason my dealer told me that no, they were an oddball saw and talked me out of it, and kind of sorry that I didn't buy a 2163 at the time when they were available. But a little bit of history on these saws, or any of you that were wondering. So anyways, gonna get on with doing some more salvage firewood cleanup cutting here. So got a couple more trees laid out here, gonna get this trimmed up and bucked up. I gotta watch where the dirt is in it here once again, as always. But anyways, gonna get the old 362 humming here again. Had it running earlier today, so get it warmed up again, and we're gonna go at it. Been a little while since this saw's been run, but still runs good. Just like I say, it rev limiter on the coil acts a little funny, so I have since found a unlimited coil for the exact same 362 Special. So I'm going to be putting that coil on this saw here. I'll probably do a repair video showing me doing that, and then we're going to see how it runs after. The deceiving thing is it sounds okay on camera, but in person, to my ear, I feel it right away. I know that it's not revving out like it should be. It doesn't even rev as high as my old 365s that I have. So anyways, going to get on with it here. Well, as you can see, it idles good, runs good. But when I'm in the cut, I notice it right away. It's got a weird gargle where it it's blubbering on itself. It's not because it's over-rich, but the minute you start leaning it out, it makes absolutely no difference. That's what somebody else did, and that's how they ended up lean seizing that saw originally. That coil is a problem. I'm going to definitely be swapping that coil out. So it works okay, but it doesn't rev out like it's supposed to. And these 362s, they were the screamer of that family of saws. They're the way the porting is, the cylinder porting is laid out in them. They are made to cut at a higher RPM than the 365s and the 372s. That was they were known to be singers, these saws, and this one is definitely not. It's not even, like I say, even coming close to the 365s, so definitely going to have to change that coil out. So anyways, going to get on with it here. Yeah, that is very frustrating to have something that's bobbling around and gargling like that. Like I say, maybe it won't. You folks probably can't hear it on the camera, but definitely in person here, I can feel its off RPM range quite a bit. So that's definitely not how a saw is supposed to perform. Not these, anyways. Even like I say, my 365, you know, gets up there, not super high, but it sings pretty good compared to this one. So it's definitely lacking, like I say, in that department there. That starts good right away, very easy, because they have a hotter ignition curve in them to get them started at a lower RPM. You don't have to spin them over as fast to get them to start to excite or fire the coil. It's not a carburation issue. Like I say, it takes a tune. You know, I can make it way too rich, and I bring it up to where I know it's in a safe zone. It's got a Walbro carb on it, so it's got the good setup. Gonna get on with it here and get some more wood here cut. So. Where you really notice it is when you're limbing. It's not bad when you're dogged in. If you're on a big piece of wood somewhere, I noticed that when your RPM range drops down into the 9,000 range or somewhere in there, it's okay. But the minute it comes up into that 11,500, 12,000 range, that's when it starts to cut out, and then it's gargling, and I don't even know if it makes it to 11,000. It's more like a 10,000 and 10,500. I can feel it where it's, you know, it keeps making like it's four-stroking because the ignition coil is, like I say, it's limiting itself out. But when it's trying to limb with it, it's frustrating because you don't have the change speed that you need. So that's where I really noticed it. So. A little bit off there, but anyways, got the biggest chunk of this here cut up. I gotta cut a little more out of that one there. I'm starting to get into some sand here again. Here I left a chunk out where the saw is sitting, and there's another chunk I've cut out over there, and I'll get a little bit more out of that top there, but not much. Maybe another 4 or 5 pieces of firewood, and that'll be it here for these 2 trees. And might take a little bit out of one other one over there. So, and we'll have a bucket full, bring it home. But anyways, just thought I'd get the saw out and get a little bit of exercise, and good thing I did, because it reminded me that I wasn't happy with that ignition coil in there originally. So it's going to be going on the workbench, and well, I'll bring a video of that to you folks here, of me changing it out, and then we'll see if it how the run characteristics change then when I do that as well. So, but anyways, I think we're going to call this a video. Once again, just like to say thanks everybody for stopping by and checking out another one of my videos, and we'll see you all on the next one.